Thank y'all so much for joining me today on the More Podcast. I'm JB Stewart, your host. You heard me. So, if you stumbled across the more, then you probably want to tap into your potential more and pull out the more that already exists inside of you. Okay? That's what the whole concept about. That is the evolution of life. Everything starts with a seed. And then it grows and it becomes more, and then it multiplies itself and give more fruit to the world in order for it to multiply itself. And the process goes again, the circle of life, and it moves us all. Guys, we see this everywhere. My thing is, I just want the average individual to identify with that, vibe with that truth, and understand that life is constructed upon that. And that is ultimate confidence, because you know that who I used to be isn't necessarily who I am, and who I am is not necessarily what I will be, because I am that I am. I am potential. I'm limitless possibilities as long as it is within range. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the beauty of this. This is so crazy. So the story goes, you're probably wondering, how did you get so big on identifying humans as potential? Well, the story goes, I was praying one day and I found myself at a crossroad because a portion of me that exists within me had been knocking upon my life, right? Disrupting me and causing this intense, dissatisfying feeling of desiring the more. And so going through what I like to call an existential dilemma of answering the questions, who am I? Where am I going? And what am I? I found myself in this place of seeking. And you know how one of the scriptures in the Bible goes, if you seek, you'll find. If you knock, the door will be open. And so what it pretty much shows us is whatever we inquire out of life with a full attention and a devotion, it comes to us. And in my particular instance, having a knowledge of self, having a distinct knowledge of who I am in order that I might operate authentically within my design and live freely within my purpose, I just started to ask the questions. I'll never forget, it was before Spanish class. I was in college. I dropped out of college because I hate that crap. I need to feel like I'm betting on myself, not the system. And I remember hearing during a quiet moment of prayer right before class, who are you? Distinctively. And I pondered more upon that question. It came back to me again, who are you? And I start thinking about the seed. And when I start thinking about the seed, this is everything I tell everybody, but this happened to me. This is the personal experience. When I start thinking about the seed, in my mind, I see the seed unfolds and go through its cycles, all of its processes until maturation. And that seed bloomed into a mighty tree. And it's like the time reel went on and I seen fruit come off of the branches. And then after spring and summer was over and fall came, this fruit rot and it fell to the ground. And upon falling to the ground, it begins to germinate within the ground. And what looks to be its death was the beginning of another cycle. And while it's germinating in the ground, it buds up as a small spout. You can say spout. As a small spout, which seems minuscule. You can walk past a small spout and never think anything of it. But over time, that spout becomes larger and it finds itself being the tree that creates more fruit, which falls to the ground and rots. And the cycle goes over and over and over again. And so this is a pattern of life And I remember distinctively hearing the question in my mind in this time of prayer: is this seed, which was the origin, any different than this mighty forest that is being occupied, right, by so many species and animals, types of vegetation? Does it see anything different from this immaculate, well-developed, multi-complex forest? And I remember knowing that the origin of something runs its course all the way to the end, and they are the same thing. So I remember hearing these words: God gives potential, but human beings defying that potential. And I'm not trying to even preach to y'all. Believe me, I'm not pushing any religious message. I'm just saying the fact of the matter is that potential is already there, but we have a responsibility, being an individual, to go ahead, see that potential, and define it by creating plans and establishing goals and desiring and establishing purposes for our life. The same way you'll go ahead and look at a tree trunk. Now you can look at a tree trunk in the lens of your imagination, only stop at seeing the trunk of a tree. Or you can be a scientist and you can look at a tree trunk and in your imagination, look at the tree trunk and decide that we can tell the timescape of this landscape by identifying the layers of this tree trunk. And at that point, you're looking at the tree trunk and you're determining that this is a scientific advancement for understanding of the planet Earth. Or you can look at a tree trunk and say, this is good for wood. I want to harvest this tree trunk and turn it into 2x4s. And with these 2x4s, I can design houses and homes and furniture. Or you can look at the tree trunk and you can say, this is good for threading. I would take threads of this wood and tie them together and create rope, which could then also be used to tie wood logs together to create homes or fashion tools in order to create pottery or whatever you desire. The fact of the matter is, a tree trunk is so multi-purpose, full. But in the lens of your imagination, having a thinking mind, you can look at the potential of a material and design for yourself by defining it a destiny for that material. In the very same way as a human, you must look at your potential actively, being well engaged, being very aware of yourself, and then design a purpose and a destiny based upon your understanding of that potential. And that's the wave, yo. That's the wave I'm on. That's why I push it every day. I live to evolve my own being. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to tap into potential and understand it as a scientist, as a sage, as a mastermind. And I want to define a world that benefits individuals. Individuals, and that's the key point. Individuals, because individuals comprise the world. Not our ideas, our governments our philosophies that we fight over, or our biases and our differences at the backbone of the world as it relates to human. It is individuals. Okay, guys, so with this powerful understanding that you are potential, a lot of things kind of shed off of your life. Okay. It's very hard to take insecurities seriously if you recognize your potential. It's very hard to look at your past and your traumas and the things that you came from that will limit you in your being and limit you in development if you recognize that you're free, roaming potential. And you can always change your story and always change your narratives. And then you're more than capable of learning, of recreating yourself as a masterful inhabitor of body, being a human being. Okay? So I wanted to pull from this, like, we're going to keep rocking with this you are potential thing. And this is the lifestyle. But what I've been noticing is ever since I got a grip of it, yo, that I'm potential, being confident became a very rational thing to me. At first, being confident was a fake it till you make it type of thing. It was almost like I should be confident and I should behave confidently because it yields a result. You know what I'm saying? Although I'm very aware that growing up, I didn't have my father. And there was many things in my childhood that I had to teach myself. I'm feeling insecure about my manhood because of all the faulty examples that I've had growing up. It was like then, before recognizing I'm potential, it was like I was a redemptive story to myself. And I had to prove myself. And being confident and behaving confidently would help me seem, at least to myself, that I have a feeling of having it together. Being very aware of some of the limited beliefs that I had about myself that we kind of all share. You understand what I'm saying? So that I want to talk about the art of confidence as it relates to the philosophy that you are potential, which I just love saying it. I just love saying it because it's so freeing. I want to give a unique definition of confidence because most definitions, in my opinion, don't do it justice because it always talks about a quality or a category of emotions or behaviors or specific attitudes that appear as confidence. But I want to give more of a esoteric inner meaning to what confidence means because another thing about being potential, identifying your raw material, um, identifying how dynamic you are, is about being able to look within yourself and come out with some definitions and come out with some constructs, some values, some principles for you to live by and be excited about. So, confidence in this light is confiding in and with your inner self that is higher and more elevated within the parameters of potential. Notice, I did not say within the parameters of demography. So, first and foremost, I am not a black male. That's not the philosophy of your potential. Okay? So, I'm not drawing confidence from as a black male who lives in America. I'm strong. I'm drawing confidence from a more free, true place as potential. I may possess unlimited strength. So as I tap into my higher self. Okay. So this art of confidence is about extending trust to your authentic self and balancing two personalities within inside of you. I don't care what nobody say. Everybody as a being is working to live in present, balancing past and future, which is memory and experiences, along with hope and foreseeing and excitement about what's to come. There has to be desires that motivate you to move forward, and there has to be lessons and experiences that show you a track record of who you have been, where you're from. So you're working with these constructs, where I'm from, where I am, and where I'm going. Everybody has to balance that. And what I don't like seeing, bro, because I seen this in myself, it's hard to have confidence when you have such a distrust for yourself. One of the distrusts I had for myself, not having my biological father in my life much, was I felt as if I was a bastard. Feeling as if you are a bastard really makes you vulnerable to failure. Because feeling like you are a bastard and being displaced from the image of the father have you thinking that you don't belong. It has you in a place of a lack of acceptance. You know what I'm saying? Like I struggle with this thought. How the hell you gonna mean something your home father don't love you? You doing all this shit, but nobody really cares. If you die, the world will just move on. So lacking that sense of significance, there's no reward in that because every reward with a sense of significance is vanity, and it makes you feel fake and fluff. So in my case, what I had to develop to get free from that is a authentic sense of value and trust in myself and an acceptance of myself. An acceptance of myself in the realms of potential means that I accept that I am. Now, other conditions may be attached to that I am, but there's one thing that's true is that I am, is that I'm conscious, is that I'm aware, and is that I'm responsible, having the ability to make decisions. And with the ability of making decisions, I may masterfully construct my life. And the value and the power of understanding that I'm a being with ability to decide is, in a way, a proper understanding, a proper foundation to accept yourself. You don't have to accept yourself as you are or as you was. You can simply accept yourself as someone who can choose who you are, and someone who can choose who you will be, and someone who can think in a way that's beneficial of who you used to be because your potential. And so once I learned to extend trust to myself with all of the crazy attachments that came along with how I thought about myself, I was able to balance the child and the father. The child and the father. And I'm going to explain this to you because I feel like this is powerful and I feel like this is helpful for those who want to listen. So the child in you represents your energetic self who's attracted to interests and who's attracted to abundant passion. The child is the you who was so excited about life, to live, to explore, to capture the unknown, to create imaginatively. I remember being a kid, I would play with a pencil, two pencils, for 2 hours, acting as if two Power Rangers were fighting each other. And it felt so real to me. I was intrigued and very involved. I put so much energy into that effort, right? That small task. It was as if I was there. And it brought a color and a vibrance to life. Your child brings color and vibrance to your life. Your child makes living feel like it's worthy. But then there's the father, which is the voice of reason that sets boundaries, instructs, and guides you, and who is the voice of your maturation. So the way that the dynamic should be working within you is you have to raise yourself. Your parent, which is your wisdom self, must be speaking to your active self, who does. Your mind must be speaking to your body, who moves in the realms of time. Now, there's people who all child, they're reckless. They're so caught up in emotions. They're very impulsive. They have no directions in life, but a lot of activity and a lot of movement. And then there's people who's all parent, who's all father, They do nothing but sit and think, and they're stuck within their head, and life is just passing them by as they warn themselves of the coming tragedies that may be. But part of having that confidence, part of having that being able to confide within your authentic self and extend unconditional acceptance, not because you was or what you have been, because you have the ability to become. Part of doing that is balancing the father and balancing the child. You got to make them come together as a perfect family. That's why I love the illustration in Christianity of the father and the son. The father knows the son, and the son knows the father. And the significance of that is your higher wisdom self will instruct you to live in the course of life, but you have to live and participate in life. And I remember being unbalanced with that because sometimes I'm so in my head that it feels like life isn't real and I'm stuck. That's because my father is speaking, but my son isn't interacting and making this abide. You know what I'm saying? But I remember also doing so much and feeling so active and very involved in present moments, but not feeling a sense of direction. That's because my father's mouth was shut up, but my son's mouth, the child within me, was going about bringing, energizing the experience of life, making them real to me. If you want to have confidence, you really got to balance both of them. You really have to balance both of them. And I think a proper way to balancing that is learning and application. Learning and application. Here's the thing about this, your potential philosophy. It does you no good just to think of yourself as potential, because potential is like the unknown. It does you no good. The only way this thing works is if you test that potential. You define it and you see it live in action. You have to test it. You have to challenge yourself. And that comes by learning and studying, which is the only way to understand life. It's the only way to access the Father, who is the wisdom voice, governing you and setting boundaries and showing you where you should go. And application, which is the only way to bring the Father down through the body of the inner child in you, who is energy and imagination and creative ability, who has an imprint on life to change it. If the voice of reason in you, if the wisdom in you doesn't send the son or doesn't send the child to be active and alive and present within the life, what you have in here and in here will not become here, will not become the world that you live in. You will not be able to create the life that you want to live. And I know this is not your classic entrepreneur talk. I know this ain't your classic motivation talk, but it's just push harder. Push harder. No, 9 to 5 ain't gonna do it. 9 to 5, you need more than one stream. You need to outwork your opponent. I'm telling you that none of that matters unless there's a balance and there's a trust of your authentic self. I'm telling you, the way is to make the two become one. Is to have potential and identify with potential. Identify with it, but define it and work it out. Work out what's in your heart, man. I need you to work out what's in your heart. I need you to trust yourself. Always learning, always allowing your mind to be transformed. Always allowing your heart to mature in every life experience to go ahead and make you sweeter, not bitter. But I need y'all to exercise that thing. Because the proof is in the pudding. It's the Father, your wisdom self, who knows, who guides and sets your boundaries and direct your path, who learns and studies and evolves, and is your inner child, who does obey and listen and make the dream of the Father a reality. You are potential. Pleasure talking with you guys. Guys, if this helped you in any way, if you like this content, if it inspires you, I want you to share, like, subscribe. This is something that people need to hear. This is something that I want the whole world to live out. Thank y'all again for spending the time. I'm JB Stewart again, your host of the More Podcast. This is a podcast about finding the potential in you and bringing out the more that already exists within you. Peace to you. Y'all be blessed.